Well, Finance Minister Nicola Willis says the government has no intention of buying offshore carbon credits to meet the 2030 Paris Agreement target, even if that was required to meet its commitment. This came out of the Finance Select Committee yesterday, part of Parliament's Scrutiny Week. Nicola Willis joins us now, as well as Labour's Carmel Sepuloni, for our political panel. Welcome to you both.
Good morning.
Well, I'll start with you first, Nicola Willis. This comment, you don't want to buy the carbon credits. I mean, most of the analysis I can see suggests that there's virtually no way we could meet that 2030 target with domestic emissions cuts. So, is this an admission we are not going to meet the target?
No, it's no such thing. We remain committed to the target, and we have no current plans to send billions of dollars overseas. And I'd urge you to ask Carmel, is it her position that Labour right now, when our hospitals, our schools, New Zealand families are crying out for relief, is it Labour's position that they would right now send billions of dollars overseas to spend on carbon credits? And I don't think that would be the position of any sensible political party in this particular moment. The commitment is not due until 2030. Future decisions can be made about how it is met. Right now, we're focused on domestic climate change action.
Carmel, you want to answer that?
Well, I think the main issue here is whether or not we're committed as a country to meeting the targets around climate emissions, and we certainly haven't seen that commitment realised by this government. It's not one or the other. I mean, the thing is that climate change is hurting us as a country. We've seen it with recent weather events. And we have a global obligation to step up alongside other countries. And we're not seeing a commitment from that government from this government to do that. And I think all of New Zealand should be concerned.
Well, actually, the thing with money is it is one or the other. There are trade-offs. You can't pay for everything. In fact, that's what your finance spokesperson was acknowledging at the weekend. You can't say yes to everything all at once.
This is about our future. This is about our future economies.
So do you just tax people for those billions? Is that what you do?
This is about securing our future and accepting and being upfront about the fact that climate change is going to have a huge impact on us socially, on our economy, and so we do need to do something, Nicola. We do need to do something.
Here at home.
Okay, I want to jump in here. Nicola Willis, where is the plan then to meet this target? I mean, you have been weakening your emissions measures, arguably. Certainly no agriculture in the emissions trading scheme. The emissions trading scheme itself has been weakened. There is no credible plan to meet this target.
Well, there is a credible plan in that we have in law domestic emission reduction targets, which we are on track to meet. And we're doing that through a huge focus on renewable energy projects. We have put in place fast-track laws, which unfortunately the opposition opposed, which allow wind farms and solar farms to be built at pace. We're invested in Agri-Zero, which has over 11 different research initiatives.
Anywhere near its 2030 target without buying offshore credits. I mean, it would be arguably a huge transformation for the New Zealand economy to meet that target. You basically got to, electrify large parts of the fleet. You need to be realistic here.
We need to do what makes sense for New Zealand, and here at home it makes sense to be building that renewable energy. It makes sense to be investing in what could be breakthrough technologies, Corin. I'm actually optimistic about the ability of New Zealand scientists to come up with some significant breakthroughs to reduce methane.
Nicola.
We are
the
through Agri-Zero,
scientists are leaving the country en masse.
Well, that's just not
because
correct.
The jobs have been disestablished and there hasn't been the investment.
That's simply not correct. We're heavily invested in Agri-Zero and we are heavily invested in the public research system, and we've focused our efforts on some of these climate change technologies because that's something that's not just about New Zealand. Ultimately, we could export that to the world, and that could be relevant to meeting our international obligations.
Quick question on this, then I'll come to you, Carmel. So you say we wouldn't buy carbon credits, but I mean the Climate Minister has signalled slightly differently, saying, well, he's still open to exploring other measures. Would you consider some sort of deal with a developing country that helps them reduce their emissions? So perhaps not a credit scheme, but nonetheless a way of bringing down or meeting our commitments. Nicola Willis.
Well, yes. So the climate change minister is looking into other ways that we could work towards this commitment, including could we share technology with other countries? Could we be working in partnership with them? As you know already, we spend huge amounts of money on investments across the Pacific to help them with renewable energy, to help them with climate adaptation projects. That's part of our international contribution.
Okay.
And those sorts of things are...
So there are
as
some other
we could
measures
explore
looked at.
Yes.
Okay, Carmel Sepuloni, what is Labour's plan to meet this 2030 target? Because you too, if you were elected into government next year, would face this massive gap. How would you meet it domestically?
Well, this is what you'll see us roll out over the course of the next year in the lead up to the election. I'm not here to announce our policy, preempting our spokesperson doing that. But our commitment was clear before the last election and continues to be clear. We have to bring our carbon emissions down. It's the small things that this government haven't supported, like electrifying our vehicle fleet, things like that. It's like, come on, this is simple. Why does the focus have to be entirely on coal, oil, gas for this government when every other country is looking at renewable energy?
Give me a steer on how you're going to reduce that gap. You would have to buy credits as well, or factor that in as well.
That would need to be factored in, but
you would buy them.
I'm not looking to announce our climate change policy here today on Radio New Zealand. That will be something that our spokesperson announces closer to the election.
It's pretty simple, Corin. If they want to spend billions of dollars sending money overseas so that they can win a climate change prize, they're going to have to tax New Zealanders more. It will add to Kiwis' cost of living.
Are you saying that you wouldn't spend billions of dollars even if you do deals with other countries?
Not in this term of Parliament. That's the government's position.
Nicola, focus on your position and the fact that you're doing nothing rather than what hypothetically will be the Labour Party's position, because we'll announce our policy closer to the election, and we certainly have a much stronger track record when it comes to
signing agreements,
reducing
not delivering
carbon
on them.
emissions and having a commitment to doing something about climate change than what you do.
Is there a risk, Nicola Willis, here that we are seeing the UK, EU start to question New Zealand's commitment? Are we making the best efforts as is required under the Paris Agreement? And we know that there are some eyebrows being raised amongst official level at the UK and EU. I mean, we risk our reputation and global consequences around trade, don't we?
I think that's been overstated. I meet with counterparts around the world, and this concern has not been raised with me, because we are committed to our international obligations, to our free trade agreements, to domestic climate action. And like many countries around the world, we're pragmatic about the fact that our economy is recovering from a very difficult period. We are focused on the domestic needs of our own people. And actually any party that tries to have it both ways and claim both that they'd spend billions overseas and they're focused on New Zealanders' needs right now, it's hard to take that seriously.
I don't think
Corin.
that the implications for our international reputation can be overstated, as Nicola has said. There's an expectation that globally we will step up. Our Pacific region, who are being hard hit by climate change and the implications of that, have an expectation that their neighbour, their partner, New Zealand, will step up. And I think that there is disappointment that that is not happening under this government.
All right, let's move on to rate caps. Carmel Sepuloni, what is Labour's position here? Would you, if rate caps were introduced, would you repeal them?
Look, we haven't made decisions about everything that would repeal, and I think Chris Hipkins has been really clear about that. What we're concerned about here, though, is that we've got a government who promised to address the cost of living challenges for New Zealanders. They haven't been able to do that. Now they're trying to deflect blame onto councils and to try and find a backdoor way of reducing some of the costs, and in this instance it's rates. What are the implications for that, though, in people's communities and their local neighbourhoods in terms of waste, water, parks, everything else? I'm really concerned that it's another situation where the government is overstepping into a space where they said that actually they would give local communities more power, but instead they're taking
Nicola
it
Willis,
back.
in terms of localism versus central government power, why don't you just leave this to the ratepayers to decide at elections if they are unhappy with councils and their spending?
Because it's not enough to just talk about the cost of living. You have to take action.
You've taken no action, Nicola.
Are increasing
No action.
costs for Kiwis, putting pressure on household budgets, and the government has been clear with councils. Focus on delivering the basics. And despite that, some communities, some superannuitants on fixed income, some very low income people have seen double-digit rate increases year after year. We say we're calling time on that. It's not good enough. It's putting significant financial pressure on Kiwi households, and we are taking action. And Labor, yet again, is saying it's really clear we have no position.
The government
it's really
haven't
clear.
done
We'll talk about the cost of
anything
living,
for the cost
but we
of
won't
living,
do
and
anything
so they're trying
about
to push it
and in
onto
fact, they're just
councils
taking the
and
side
make
of
it
those
their
councils.
responsibilities.
They're taking the side of councils who've done double-digit rate rises, and they're saying that's fine by us, that's fine by Labor.
Quick response to that, Carmel Sepuloni?
I think that it is important always for councils and government to look for efficiencies. But in this particular instance, I think the government has failed New Zealanders by not being able to provide any reprieve for the cost of living, and instead are trying to deflect it onto councils and say that it's all about rates.
Okay, we've come to the close. We're in the Christmas spirit here, so I'm going to ask you about your Christmas trees. Just to lighten things up a little bit in Scrutiny Week. Nicola Willis, have you got the old Christmas tree up yet? You go for the real tree?
Oh, you've caught me out, Corin. We don't have it up yet, and normally we try and have it up for December. So that'll be a job this weekend, and I'm pitching for a big, real one. So one that smells of pine needles, puts it all over the floor, and the kids can do the vacuuming.
Carmel Sepuloni, how about you?
Well, the truth is, and I was just saying to Ingrid, that the kids aren't going to be here on Christmas Day. So I've decided, rather than go through all the effort, this will be the one year that I can remember where we don't put a tree up, but we might put some tinsel or decorations up around the house.
Very good. Enjoy the rest of Scrutiny Week. Thank you very much. That is Nicola Willis, and Labor National's Nicola Willis and Labor's Carmel Sepuloni for our political panel.